All right. Welcome back to That's Some Cheese, part of the Vendetta Sports Podcast Network. Today is, what is today? Monday, May 2nd, 2022. We're here for our round two NBA playoff predictions, previews, whatever you want to call it, with Jarrod Prosser. If you haven't listened to the first one, we were pretty accurate, I think. Somewhat.
Yeah, we'll go back through. We just about nailed all of our winners, and we got a fair few of the numbers of games right as well.
Yeah, pretty good start for us. So we'll be doing a round two stuff. I know the last episode we started with the crazy egg hunt that hasn't been followed up. So we could.
Yeah, I mean, well, just for the for the viewers at home, off air we spoke about it, and it turns out this Easter egg hunt has like treasure maps, and the thing that got me was apparently it has crossbows. So from there, I was 100% invested in this. So please, Trey, the floor is yours.
Yeah, there were crossbows. I guess the event I was, my event was the slingshot. So I had to slingshot a light bulb.
Back it up. Why were this? How are the crossbows and slingshots incorporated into an Easter egg hunt?
So the winner of the event gets a clue for the main egg of the Easter egg hunt.
So you're like firing crossbow bolts at a target or slingshotting at a target
for a clue.
Okay.
Yeah. And the main egg ended up being inside a piece of wood that you had to split in half. It took way too long for that many people to find it. Obviously not, I don't think anyone anticipated the egg being inside a piece of wood that was glued together. So
I think I'm doing pretty well when I get up on Easter Sunday and put the eggs around the backyard before the kids are up. Like
it was an experience.
This is too much.
I was tired. It was too much for me.
I'm tired, like thinking about it. I don't know whether this makes me a bad parent that I don't have crossbows and slingshots on Easter Sunday.
This just makes them crazy people, I think.
Oh my God, that is both the most ridiculous and the most wonderful idea that I've ever considered.
Yeah, there was one event where there was a boat race. So you had to get in your boat and start rowing. Yeah.
Okay, next Easter this has got to be videoed. We need to set up the Vendetta.
Okay.
The Vendetta TV crew.
I think we can try to do that.
But nominally,
yeah,
this isn't an Easter podcast. This is
absolutely not.
An NBA podcast. So
my phone needs a charge. Anyway, we'll go over the round one matchups. I guess we'll start one seed on the East and then work our way to the West.
No crossbows in the NBA.
No crossbows. Well,
that would make it fun.
Wesley Matthews hits a couple threes and he likes to pull it off. So
it's still a fake. It's start shooting people in the crowd, Wes. Come on. No. Disclaimer: I do not support violence at basketball. Yes, so Philly, Toronto. Sorry, Philly. No, number one was Miami, wasn't it?
Miami,
a nondescript number one seed.
Yeah. I guess my question to hear is: did you learn anything about Trae Young? Do you view him differently after this series?
Look, it is one series against a team that is ideally designed to mess up what he does, but at the same time, it's a worrying sign. I went through some of the stats, and he had more turnovers. I think he had the same amount of turnovers as he had assists, or might have had slightly more turnovers than assists, but he had more turnovers than he had field goals, like actual field goals made, which is just astonishing. Like, they absolutely swamped him. You look at his shot chart, and it was all these, 28, 30-foot threes, because that's the only shot he could get. He couldn't get into his floater game. They frustrated his passing game, which, realistically is the best part of his game. They just cut off all of his angles and made him throw up shit. And from there, they basically said, the rest of you guys go beat us. Bogdanovic did okay until he got hurt, but DeAndre Hunter had that one explosion, raging against the dying of the light, but really there wasn't any help there. Collins was clearly undercooked. It was the expected result. I mean, it was Miami in 5, and we both called Miami in 5, so we nailed that one.
It probably should have been a sweep if Trae Young didn't make that crazy last second.
But look, we both went with gentleman's sweep. We just about nailed the order of the wins. I'm prepared, given Trae's track record through the regular season and his playoffs last season, I'm prepared to put this down as an aberration at this point. But it makes next season's playoffs, assuming Atlanta make it, considering they came in through the back door of this season. Assuming they do make the playoffs next year, it does put a very, very bright spotlight on it.
I'll go with a counter just to be interesting, because, we all expected the Hawks to lose. So why crush the Hawks for losing? So, but anyway, it just kind of feels like sometimes if he's not getting to the free throw line, he struggles. Like, he needs those points at the free throw line. And come playoff time, I'm not sure he's going to get those calls. And we could be seeing this year after year.
That's the thing that Harden's had for years as well.
Yeah.
When you can't draw the crappy fouls, when the whistles are swallowed, all of a sudden you're relying on your three. And that Miami defense is incredibly switchable, even to the point where Bam and occasionally Deadman can even switch onto. So that's where it comes back to, he just chucked up a whole bunch of really deep under pressure threes. And because he's 3-point, like, I don't know what he was hitting for the series on threes, but it was a ridiculously low percent. I'm sure it was under 20%. And Miami, they've been heliocentric now since Trae came in, and the NBA is moving away from that heliocentric model. There's enough talent there that Trae Young could average 12 or 13 assists a game and average 22, 23 points rather than 28, 29. I'm interested to see whether Atlanta look at what happened this series, where as Trae went, they went, and Trae didn't go anywhere, whether they try to diversify a little bit.
I have one more question on Atlanta. DeAndre Hunter, very positive series for him.
Yeah.
Would you maybe consider, hey, let's tear some of this down, but Hunter's our guy. Like, we're keeping him no matter what.
It depends what you think of Collins, I suppose. Either Collins or Hunter are good enough to be a number 2. It's really a matter of whether you believe, like, if you think John Collins is a 4, then you probably maybe look to trade Hunter for something while his value is high. Alternatively, I'll try English. If you think Collins is a 5, when you've already got Capella and Okongwu on the roster, Hunter can be your stretch 4. He's big enough, he's long enough, he's strong enough. So if you think Collins is a 5, he's probably the one you trade, and I'm
leaning that direction.
Your second option at the 4. So I think he's good enough to be a number 2. I don't think he's a number 1 option for a good team. Like, he's just not. He's a really good defender who can do enough offensively. But yeah, either he or Collins will probably go, I think. And whoever stays will be the long-term 4.
We learn anything about Miami at all? Kind of expected.
Their defense is good. I mean, we already
kill you in multiple different ways.
They can cope without players. I mean, again, it's quote unquote only Miami, but they didn't have Lowry for part of the series. Butler was out for part of the series. They can cope with absences. They're a deep team, and perhaps that's the revelation, that they're not as, I suppose, star-centric as what we might have thought, because they really didn't miss a beat without their first and third best players.
Unless you have anything else, we can move to the next series down the bracket.
Yeah, I'm done with Atlanta.
Yeah. Philly, Toronto. I did call Philly in 6. I don't think I anticipated Philly 3-0 and then for them to blow 2 games.
Yeah, and I did blow this one. I picked Toronto in 6. I just had a feeling that Embiid wouldn't quite get enough help. As it was, Embiid ate whenever he wanted to, including eating an elbow from from Siakam.
Which is kind of what we said, that Toronto, realistically, they didn't have an answer for Embiid. And they never did.
It was about the help. Could Toronto make this a 1-on-5 series? And they didn't. Maxey had his moments. Harris was good in parts. Danny Green was uncryogenically frozen. James Harden, he's not the scorer he used to be, clearly, but he was really good this series for the most part. He's turned into a genuine distributor now rather than a scorer who can get assists. But yeah, 14 assist game, 15 assist games. He was picking that defense apart really methodically. And that was enough. When you've got Harden doing just a bit of scoring and setting everyone else up, knowing that Embiid can get what he wants when he wants against that side. That was really all they needed. They just needed someone to step up as a genuine number 2, and Harden did that job.
I think that's a good point to bring up, because Harden's been actually getting a lot of criticism, I think, from a lot of people after this series that, hey, he's not putting up the big numbers he used to, like bad trade. Well,
he doesn't have to. That's the thing. He's got the, Embiid just won the scoring title. He has, by definition, the best scorer in the league.
Yeah. When I watched that series, I was like, okay, he seems like he's buying in, like he's doing his part. Like, I can't be mad about this. Can I?
Yeah. No, and he'll find a matchup where, he might be able to go for, 25 plus a game.
Well, now that Embiid's out, he might have to.
Well, yeah, we're going to see just what James Harden has left, aren't we?
Yes.
But we'll get onto that later, because that's a round 2 part, and this is the round 1 part. Look, we were saying off air that Philly just fuck with you. They go up 3-0. Oh yeah, everything's great. Then suddenly they drop 2 games to half of a Toronto roster, and Doc's in the firing line, Harden's in the firing line, and Embiid's in the firing line. And just when they're about to tease that it's going to get to 3-3, and we've got all this narrative to talk about, they snatched it away with a 30-point win, a convincing, 30 points flattered Toronto in that game. So just when you think they're going to be the headline-grabbing team for all the wrong reasons, they go and put it all to bed. They screw with us in the media constantly.
I thought Nick Nurse might have cracked the code when he said, well, we're down 3-0, but all we got to do is win this game, and then we're down 3-1. And then the team has won that before. So.
Yeah, that was expert level trolling. That was superb from there. So that
was my favorite part of the series.
I didn't see the presser, but I saw it on Twitter, and I generally laughed out loud to the point where one of my kids turned around and thought I'd watching Fail Army or something that they love. I found that genuinely funny.
Hey, not all is lost though for Toronto. They got the Rookie of the Year in Scotty Barnes, and I don't think anybody really predicted that before the year.
This team seems really good. Remember, they didn't have Siakam for the first half of the season, and when he came back, he was borderline All NBA. If that's what he is now, and consistently that, you throw in the improvement from Barnes, Gary Trent's still young. Precious showed a bit later in the season after, frankly, being awful.
And Anunoby's not old. He's still got...
Yeah, Anunoby's still got some growth in him as well. Fred VanVleet is probably what he is at this stage, but still, that's pretty damn good. He made an all-star roster this season. So there's a lot of good in Toronto. And they've got their, one of the better coaches in the league in Nick Nurse, and arguably the best person driving their front office in the side.
Yeah, fair points. Next series, we got Milwaukee, Chicago. I think this is probably the quickest recap that we had from our pod the first time around. Didn't spend too much time on it.
We both picked the Bucks. You picked a sweep. I picked a gentleman's sweep, and turned out to be a genuine gentleman's sweep. Look, Chicago, a really nice story, but they were just outgunned. No Lonzo. Levine wasn't quite himself. Vooch was ineffective. As expected, Vooch was ineffective against that monstrous front line. It was nice seeing Patrick Williams come back and play well. But yeah, there's not too much to say on Chicago's end. For Milwaukee,
Well, I have one thing on Chicago's end. Can we talk about it?
yeah, go for it.
Zach LaVine, free agent. Is it a slam dunk he returns?
It's definitely. I think he will return, but it's definitely not a slam dunk. It's not a fait accompli by any means.
I think it's a storyline that maybe people should be talking about.
Yeah, look. There is definitely a non-zero chance that he leaves, or that he's. I'd put it probably 70-30 that he stays, but at the same time, that's still a reasonable chance. It's a 1 in 3 chance that he goes, essentially.
Which would make the whole plan by Chicago a little strange, spending for DeRozan, getting Vucevic, because that Magic trade is almost bad to this point. Like, they lost that trade.
Yeah, I mean, considering there's still a pick to go, just Carter and Wagner by themselves is worth more than Vooch.
So you lose LaVine and you kind of went in, hey, we can win.
But at the same time, Lonzo's still to come back. Lonzo and Caruso are a lot of fun to play with. I would, like, if I was a wing, I would love to be running up and down the floor alongside them. Williams looks good. It does open up cap space for them. In Chicago, yeah, it's cold, but they can draw free agents. It's not Phoenix, it's not Miami, it's not LA, but they can draw free agents. So there is a chance that there's a chance for them to tack successfully from that. But at the same time, all of these moves were made with the idea of keeping LaVine in town. So it will shatter them if he goes. I think he stays, but you're right. It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Milwaukee, I know they lost Middleton. How crushing is it?
Yeah, that is big, especially against Boston. And I know there's already been one game this morning.
I have a lot to say on that.
Well, this morning my time, last night yours. So it hasn't affected them so far, but I think losing Middleton, and look, there's talk he can come back for game 3 or 4, but there's also talk that he's out even if it's a 7-game series. So who do you believe? That is a
well. It depends if is it Ben Simmons' timeline.
So we're never seeing Middleton again, unless he's wearing fluorescents.
I was just making sure we were using the correct timeline.
Yeah, look, let's not insult Middleton by putting him on the Ben Simmons timeline. Look, I know we'll probably touch on it later, but I'll just say it now. As an Australian, I'm pretty much out on Simmons right now. I just he's quit on his college team, he's quit on the Sixers, he quit on the national team, and he may be quitting on Brooklyn. There's a track record there now, but we'll get to that later.
One quick side tangent. Ben Simmons for Rudy Gobert trade package might be.
Oh, fuck off, Trey. just. Yeah, no, don't.
Okay.
I mean, look, if this was a simulation, that skill set alongside Mitchell, especially when you've got...
It could be talked about. Why couldn't it be talked about this offseason?
Well, it can't be talked about because, Philly, he can't handle Philly, he can't handle New York. The Jazz are the only game in Utah.
Those fans are kind of brutal.
They will literally sacrifice him on the altar to their God if he pulls this shit. Literally. Yeah. They'll seriously. They'll tie him up. They'll start burning the little thickets of wood around him.
We got to factor the Danny Ainge thing, though. He's done some crazy shit. He's not afraid.
He does, and it generally works.
Yeah.
But God, yeah.
Now you're not going to be able to sleep tonight. I feel bad.
I cannot make peace with that idea of Gobert for Simmons and stuff. And it will be Simmons and stuff.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that. There'll be picks, there'll be players, no. Okay. No. Milwaukee. Let's talk about happier things. Yeah, no, Middleton is a big loss, and I think he
Sure.
will be a big loss against Boston as the series goes on. Having said that, if taking him out and putting in Portis, which moves Giannis to the 3. I mean, we spoke about in our pod 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were previewing the first round, just how big and long that Boston side is. All of a sudden, you have Drew Holiday and Wes Matthews, and in the front court, Giannis, Portis, and Brook Lopez. They make Boston look small. But that is a monstrous.
I wouldn't say small, but yeah,
lineup.
the point is well taken.
It's like basically that advantage that Boston had over Brooklyn defensively, where there's just length and size all over the floor. Suddenly, Boston's facing that. And I think that affected how things went in game one. I think Boston were, and it's not the Middleton small, but Portis is just genuinely bigger than him. Moves Giannis to the 3, where he's the largest small forward in the world. And
do we want to just preview this series now, since we're kind of talking about it anyway?
Yeah, look, we may as well. Let's take the tangent.
I do think from game one, the Celtics almost kind of needed a game like that. They cruised through the Brooklyn series a little too fast.
Yeah, I agree. And the Brooklyn series, yes, it was a sweep. Yes, it was close. It is statistically the closest sweep as far as plus minus in history. But when you watch those games back, they were close at the end, but they weren't particularly close games. The feel of them wasn't close. Yeah. Game one aside, of course. It always felt like Boston were in control and just.
They had a lot of days off here.
Sorry?
They had a lot of days off here.
Yeah, they did. And I agree with you 100%. Boston needed to get a little jab to the jaw just to let them know that they're in a fight. But having said that, they have now lost home court advantage. Milwaukee's home court is excellent. So it will be interesting to see. I would expect Boston to absolutely lay the smackdown in game 2. I think they will win and win big, because that will be their response to getting punched in the face, to let them know that, hey, you got us once, but we're going to own you from here on in. Gets back to Milwaukee at 1-1. If we did this preview before game 1, I probably would have said Boston in 5 or 7, because winning at home. I was probably leaning towards 7, but with that loss in game 1, I think I'm going to go with Milwaukee in 6.
Okay.
Not saying it with any real confidence, but I think it'll be Milwaukee in 6. But I will say the winner of this series represents the East in the finals.
I think I agree with that latter statement. Just a heads up, I don't know what's going on, but the Zoom thing has 8 minutes left. So
we'll just keep going.
Yeah. If it happens, it
if
happens.
Not, part 2.
Yeah. If it happens, it happens. I'm going to go with Celtics in 7. I think the Middleton loss is a big deal. And I know Giannis, that guy is just insane. It almost doesn't even matter who the rest of his teammates are. That off the backboard dunk. Oh my God.
Yeah. I said it a couple of years ago, back when the season was cancelled postponed before the bubble, and I did that alphabet series. I remember putting in something in there that top tier of players for me is Kareem, Jordan, LeBron, in whatever order you want to put them. But considering he had a couple of MVP, or he had an MVP, he was likely to get a second. Since then, he's won a title as well. I did say back then, and this was in 2020, that we could be talking about a 4th person in that tier by the time it's all done for Giannis. He is that good, and he has got improvement left in him, which is fucking scary to think about.
I think there are some adjustments to be made. I saw there was a stat, Giannis was 0 for 4 when Robert Williams guarded him. Maybe use Robert Williams more on him.
The issue is, though, similar to what the Clippers and what teams do to Utah, Milwaukee, because whether it's Portis or Middleton, you can't really leave Giannis alone. because
Yeah.
you don't want to let him get a runway. It's not so much that you're guarding his shot, it's that you want to make him work off the first step. But every other player can shoot. Boston's defense really stepped into gear when they started playing Williams on the weakest shooter. The problem in the Milwaukee series is the weakest shooter has the ball. And you don't really want Williams you don't want Time Lord guarding the ball. Because it's not his strength, but also it takes away the team's strength of funneling people into Robert Williams. So that's where Udoka's going to have to find some sort of alternative.
Horford can't do it. So
Horford has looked really, really good, but at the same time, he is as old as the hills. This is not, 2013 Al Horford.
That can't be a Horford 30 minutes thing.
Yeah, he can do it on possessions. He can do it for maybe 2 or 3 minute stretches, but you don't want to rely on that. And it's not his fault because he's playing really well comparative to where he should be for his age, but he is old. Now, he's not an all defense candidate anymore like he used to be.
I think the Middleton loss is just a really big deal.
It just takes away that depth. I mean, Portis can be hit and miss.
And the Celtics have the depth. The Celtics got plenty of bodies. Smart was hurt in game one. That kind of, I think, affected him. He looks like he should be fine the rest of the series. Peyton Pritchard's been out of his mind good.
He has been. I mean, look, he's very much exploitable on defense. I'm fairly sure that my middle-aged injured ass could get past him on a one-on-one drive. But he has been good. He's a heady player. He's a good offensive player.
I almost think he should take some minutes away from Derek White.
I don't know whether that would be. I mean, White has been in the playoffs before. He's learned from one of the best playoff coaches going around.
There's just some times where I think that they need a little bit of a bolt of offense, and Pritchard gives it to him.
Yeah, look, White is conservative. There's no doubt he is a conservative player. He does some great things, but he is someone who is a disciplined cog in a machine. He's not someone who you can throw the ball to and say, just hit me a deep three.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some times in this series where, hey, like Tatum's doing well and Brown's doing well, but we still need a jolt of offense. And okay, somebody needs to score here. I think Pritchard can give you that.
Yeah, White's the guy who keeps the machine moving. Pritchard can break away from that machine a little bit. Going back to the big issue with the Middleton injury, the creativity, you can give more of the ball to Drew, you can give more of the ball to Giannis. Portis can replicate the shooting and a different style of defense. I think it actually, in a weird way, helps their defense, even though Middleton individually is good. But the problem is all of a sudden, Matthews gets more shots, Connaughton moves up one spot in the rotation, and then all of a sudden you're relying on minutes from Grayson Allen, what are the odds on a Grayson Allen Marcus Smart double technical at some point in this series?
High.
Yeah, very, very high.
Yeah.
It's the usual thing. It's not so much the person who's replacing the injured player, it's who replaces the replacement is the issue. And that's, suddenly it's Grayson Allen time. It might even be, if he sucks, it might be Jordan Nwora time. And he's very talented. I'm really high on him, but he's a second-year pro. He's not ready for these minutes. That could be the issue, that if, as the series gets longer, Smart comes back, Middleton doesn't.
Smart's supposed to play in game 2, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. But if Middleton doesn't play until game 6 or game 7, and he certainly won't be 100% at that stage.
That's why I'm leaning Boston.
Milwaukee run out of bodies.
I think the longer this series goes, we get to a game 6. They need those Wes Matthews kind of guys to perform, and it's a really tough ask.
Yeah, it is. It is. So I think I will stick with Milwaukee just after that game 1 win. So you're going Boston, I'm going Milwaukee?
Yeah, I think so.
Excellent. All right. Back to the other series, though. So we had one left. What was that one?
We can talk about the Nets a little bit if you want. And then we can move to the West.
I don't even know if I want to talk about the Nets, Trey.
Okay.
It just feels like it's been done. Like everything that could be said has been said.
I have a little bit of a rant.
And you've already given me the Gobert nightmare scenario. So I
have a little bit of a rant. I think it's so unfair to put this on Kevin Durant. And I know, listen,
yeah,
he didn't have the greatest series in the world. I understand that. But I mean, this dude didn't really have a shot here. I mean, you're asking Bruce Brown and Goran Dragic to like, they have to be good or we're screwed.
Yeah. Yep. I
So
Boston
unfair
played
to me to
KD
put this on
perfectly.
Durant.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely it is. I mean, Kyrie was electric in game one, but he was pretty average after that. Boston played KD perfectly. He's weak through the legs. You know, he doesn't hold position well when he's off the ball. He doesn't cut. You know, he's not a terribly perceptive cutter. You know, he's a good passer, but not a great passer.
But him doing that stuff is the only way they were going to win the series. So
the issue is that you need, like, you know, as soon as he gets the ball with a little bit of space, because he could shoot over you and he's got good handles, you know, it's over. But if you get into him, you do the work beforehand. You know, I've mentioned it before in Aussie rules football, they call it the tagger, who just constantly niggles away from the ball, little rabbit punch here, a little push here, just constant contact. You feel that person there. That's what Boston did to Durant, and it wore him down. It took him away from his spots. So without,
and I do think Brooklyn actually could have won the series, but like they're like Blake Griffin's on the floor, like Kessler Edwards is on the floor. Like,
look, it's similar to the Grayson Allen thing. I mean, you know, Grayson Allen can give Milwaukee good minutes, but he's still Grayson Allen. Blake Griffin gave the Nets good minutes, but he's still end of career Blake Griffin. You know, the fact that he was on there having to give him good minutes tells a story in and of itself, really. But yeah, the big worry.
Claxton, I think he's still missing free throws right now.
Mate, the Earth may change its axis.
We're back. Zoom kicked us out. We apologize. Anyway, we were talking about
technology.
Yeah, we were talking about Nick Claxton.
Who you know what it was? I think the technology kicked out because he hit a free throw and the world just didn't know what to do. It just had to reset itself.
Yeah.
So thank you, Nick Claxton. I was about to make a point on Claxton before the world stopped. He and Bruce Brown were, you know, outside of the stars, the most effective players for Brooklyn in that series, and they are both unrestricted free agents.
Could you make the argument that Goran Dragic is the third of that group?
No, he gave him good minutes.
He did give him good minutes.
He would have expected, but yeah, no. I mean, he's still a liability defensively. He has been for 3 or 4 years now. Even when he was, you know, when he got injured in the bubble, that was pretty much the end of Miami's title tilt. But even then, he was still a very good offensive player, but he was a liability.
I think he made me curse at the TV at least 3 or 4 times during that series.
He was good. It was great. He settled into a new role as a really heady backup point guard who can have these little explosions. But this team needs Brown, especially as an insurance policy for Simmons. He's essentially a smaller and not as talented version of what Simmons does. So that's where, when the Simmons trade happened, we're talking about Simmons taking that role, how he fit it perfectly. He's a great fit with the team because we've already seen proof of concept in Bruce Brown. But if he goes and Simmons continues to do Simmons stuff, and Nick Claxton goes, and there's, outside of Sharp, who's, a nice prospect, but certainly not ready, because Drummond has already said he's going. Drummond is not sticking around. So that leaves this team awfully thin with no cap space to cover them. So expect Claxton and Brown to get paid this offseason.
What do you do with Kyrie?
Sorry?
What do you do with Kyrie?
I know what I'd like to say, but I'm not going to. I've got to think of this like Sean Marks.
You have a choice.
You have to pony up. You have to pony up.
Yep.
You've got no choice.
Nope.
I mean, you're gonna have your head in your hands as you're signing it. You got to just take your medicine with this one. It's a package deal with KD.
Because if you don't sign him, Durant's gone. Like,
I don't necessarily think he is. I think Durant's got a Machiavellian streak to him where he would say, Kyrie isn't winning me a championship. But the problem is, if he goes, they don't have the cap space to sign anyone to replace Kyrie.
Yeah, I mean, who's coming in? So
yeah, so I don't necessarily think it's a case of Kyrie of Durant saying, it's
no, I'm not saying he needs
none of us.
He needs exactly Kyrie, but like you got to have something that's
he doesn't. Yeah, he needs another elite offensive talent, and for all of his many wrinkles as a player and a human being, Kyrie is an elite offensive talent. So yeah, you just have to stump up the money and look.
He's a little bit of a front runner too.
I'm sure he can find $50 million down the back of the couch if he looks hard enough.
He's a little bit of a front runner. Looked a lot better in game one when they thought they had a shot. Then
he's a much better front runner, and that's been the case for years. Like realistically,
yeah.
I mean, as far as big playoff moments, he's still living off that one shot in Golden State,
and he deserves that. He deserves that.
Oh, it was a wonderful shot. I mean, it was an all or nothing play. It was dead set hero ball. But again, he's elite. Kyrie's good enough to make, to create space and
to not only make those shots, but not question when he takes them.
Well, that's the thing. You kind of have to take the good and the bad with it.
Yeah.
It's always been that way, unfortunately. So, no, I think for two people who didn't want to talk about Brooklyn, we've spoken about Brooklyn a bit. I think you just have to pay him and deal with it.
Yeah.
You pay him knowing it's going to be a bad deal at the end of the contract, and maybe even in the middle of the contract.
Well, who knows? He could like retire. Like, no, would anybody be surprised?
Look, you're not wrong.
Yeah, like
you're not wrong. There's every chance that he could pull some weird, he just goes and lives on a Native American reservation for the next 10 years. You never know. Anyway, we best go west. And look at
Phoenix, New Orleans. Pretty impressive showing by New Orleans.
Would be. So much better series than I thought it would be. We both had Phoenix pretty much right from the get-go, and I think we both picked Phoenix in 5. But I don't think either of us were thinking it was 5 with any confidence. I think we were both thinking it was going to be a 4-game series. And credit to the Pellies. They were good. They were genuinely good.
A non-Zion Pellies.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, man, it's a good problem to have in how do you incorporate Zion Williamson, but it is a problem. How do you incorporate Zion Williamson? They found an identity here. CJ running the point, BI is the main man, Valanciunas mashing small dudes down low. Trey Mann, wonderful shooter. Herb Jones can do just enough on offense to survive. This team found something. They
Alvarado, you didn't even bring up Alvarado.
I love Alvarado. I absolutely adore that man. I was actually coaching on Friday night in an under-19s game, and I had to tell. I literally had to say to my guys, "Look behind you! There are kids Alvaradoing in Australia." And it's not just like I saw it in a few different games. It is a phenomenon now.
That guy was awesome.
He was brilliant. And I love the hair. He's taken out the braids. The hair looked awesome too.
Are they can they be a real team if Zion comes back, like a real team?
How does he fit? That's the issue. Because the ball's going to be in his hands.
He's almost crazy to not want to come back, right?
Oh, look, he's already said he's re-signing. But I think that's a case of I have to re-sign because I have, my value is greatly diminished.
Rookie contract extension.
Constantly injured, yeah. But you put the ball in his hands, it comes out of Ingram's hands, it comes out of McCollum's hands. Suddenly you're not letting Valanciunas, smash a nominal power forward and, ram him through the hoop. So because Valanciunas can shoot a bit, Ingram's a good but not great
shooter. Larry Nance, he was okay.
I'm glad he got a run on the court. He's such an underrated player.
We've been looking for a spot for him for like 5 years. Injuries.
Yeah, look, he's a genuine do-it-all. I mean, even in his last season in Cleveland, he switched down to the 3 in what we should have seen in retrospect as a proof of concept precursor to Markkanen at the 3 and to that working. But Nance played at the 3, and they had a really good defense as a result. But yeah, no, he's never going to be a star, but he's a genuine, one of those genuine gap fillers.
Can really jump too.
Whatever you ask him to do, he can do a reasonable job at doing.
Good leaper.
Oh yeah, of course. Dunk champ. He's got his dad's genes. He's wonderful jumper. Look, going back to Zion, the fit is less obvious with him, but the Zion that we know can exist is just such an overwhelming force of nature that you have to find a way for it to work. The
guy we saw last year, was he a top 20 guy in the league?
I don't think so.
The guy we saw last year was awesome.
He was, but he was poor defensively. His passing wasn't there. Like he was, as far as highlights, he was top 3 in the league. But yeah, because everything he did, especially because we're never going to see something like, it's like if a rhino got taught how to fly. That's what Zion's like.
Yeah.
Imagine a truck with wings, basically.
I'm in on Ingram too. I got
to admit, I am. I was out on him for a while. He's drawn me back in. But this is the issue. Ingram was so good as the lead guy. Zion has to be the lead guy when he's back. So where does that leave Ingram, who has traditionally struggled as a second option? This is where the fit isn't natural, but yet, you have to give it a go. You can't. Zion might be generational if he can get his health right. So you have to at least see what happens. You have to try and work out a solution before you give up on it. I just, without deep diving, I can't see what the obvious solution to how the fit goes.
Yeah. I thought this was an impressive series for Chris Paul.
That closeout game was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
I'm not sure.
It was surgical.
I'm not sure a lot of teams survived this. What Phoenix had.
Well, it is still a very young Phoenix side. You sort of forget that outside of Crowder and Paul,
if their point guards
still learning.
I'm trying to think. If their point guards like DeJounte Murray, do they survive this?
No, of course not. Of course not. But even to be honest, I don't think Phoenix survives this with a 24-year-old Chris Paul.
I mean, he was great. He was great.
Yeah, he was. And Chris Paul at 24 was clearly better than Chris Paul at 36, 37, whatever he is now. But that composure, that he's been through it all. He's had ups and downs. He just said, okay, I know what I need to do here. I can pick my spots. I got this. And of course, his shooting was ridiculous.
Yeah. But
24-year-old Chris Paul, I think, would have tried to take over too much and force too much. And I honestly think we would have seen a game 7. So it's not even just throwing a different point guard than Chris Paul. It's throwing a different version of Chris Paul. And I think that we could have seen a game 7. But he was just so...
Yeah.
He was brilliant. You can't say enough about him.
I almost think this helps his legacy. He was that good.
Absolutely, it does. The one knock against Chris Paul has been playoff performance. He's just, yes, it was the first round, and yes, they're the 1 seed against a play-in winner. But at the same time, he just dragged a team that was hobbled with not just a great game, with a perfect game.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah. It's people, look, you follow baseball a hell of a lot more closely than I do, but in the first round of a playoffs, if someone pitches a no-hitter, that's going to get talked about.
Yeah. That's that's basically what he did.
Yeah. Yeah. It is basically what he's done. He's just had a quarterback rating of 160 in a playoff game.
Yeah.
So yeah. How this affects them for the second round, yeah, I'm not quite sure. Booker coming back definitely makes Phoenix the strong favourite. But without him there's just enough tenacity, just enough defense, I think, to hold out Phoenix and make this an interesting series without Booker. How long is he out for?
I don't know. I don't think. Do we know yet? I'm not sure.
No, I'm not sure it's been announced. But if he is out for 4 games, 5 games, whatever it is, then let's say he's out for 4 games, comes back game 5, we could very much be looking at a 2-2 series by then. Because Luka will have his sea legs again by then. He started to get it back towards the end of the Utah series, but I think he'll, I think we'll see Luka at his best in this one.
Let's move to the next series. Dallas, Utah.
No. It's over for the Jazz. This version of the Jazz is done. Whether it's trading Gobert,
saying that it's not in his contract to attend the press conferences.
I did find that funny.
That was awesome.
Look, to be honest, I would probably. I get the idea of keeping Gobert because he is a defense unto it. Like when you have him, you have a top 10 defense. I get the idea of keeping Mitchell in that he is he can be a singular offensive force. He's not elite. Like he's an A- offensive player rather than an A+. But he is young and he will still grow. He's only 25. And if he ever actually takes just a skerrick of responsibility on defense, because remember, he came in with a reputation as a good defender.
Yeah, what happened there?
He'd slide a couple of times and then he just sort of stopped, like he ran into a pane of glass or something. Like, it's Jalen frickin' Brunson. You should be able to stay in front of him.
Yeah.
Look, I think he's possibly a little bit entitled. I think there might be, perhaps a mental issue there where he's gotten ahead of himself because, he came into a team that was supposed to tank because Hayward had just left and he's instantly replaced this, face of the franchise. Realistically, he's never had a moment in the NBA where he's had to take his lumps and grow. He was a star from year one. So I have a feeling there's a sense of entitlement there that I'm surprised to see. A trade would probably knock that out of him, but at the same time, Ryan Smith seems to be very, very invested in building the team, even if it's without Gobert, building the team around Mitchell. So I think the Jazz, this version of the Jazz are done. Ingles is obviously gone. I don't know what they could get for Conley, if anything, because he's a negative value contract.
If he was a free agent, he'd probably be one of those $4 or $5 million guys.
Yeah. And there's still 2 years left on that deal.
Yeah.
And he did look really good early in the season. You remember last season, Utah didn't play him in back-to-backs. They very deliberately held him out. They didn't do that this year. I think Utah will go back to holding him out of back-to-backs again. Now, he'll probably play 60 to 65 games.
Probably the correct decision.
I think it is. And that will keep him fresher for the back end of the season. So maybe Conley isn't done yet. Maybe it was just he was worn down because he is old and he did play a lot of minutes. But Utah can't run this back.
I have one angle for you because I didn't know where exactly you were going to go with it. But it would almost
just breaking down and crying. Or?
It would be more feasible to bring the team back if they had a couple of young guys, in my opinion, that he can take a leap. He can take a leap. I mean,
and look, Daniel, I mentioned on the last pod that Daniel House would supersede Royce O'Neal. As much as he didn't start, I think he has superseded Royce O'Neal.
But where are the young guys?
Much better defender, and at least is willing to shoot. Jarrod Butler, he's one to watch. Just remember, Jarrod Butler was considered a borderline lottery talent, but with health issues. He's shown so far that the health issues, and touch all the wood, that those heart issues are under control. So if he can step up a little bit more and become that third guard, God bless Trent Forrest, but he's just not that good. So if he can become that third guard,
are we going to get anything out of Alexander Walker?
He's a worthy flyer, but he's a long way off. The other one I think Utah could look to trade is Clarkson.
I think they would get some value for him.
I think they would. And that depends on the internal growth that Butler has, because you can't play a 4-guard rotation of Clarkson, Butler, Mitchell, and Conley. They're just too small. So if Clarkson can go for,
I'm sure Gobert would love playing with that
wing or something like
him,
that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if he can go for a bigger player, because all of a sudden that means that Royce O'Neal can guard 2s, that Daniel House can guard 3s instead of 4s. It means that Butler can step into the rotation. I think Clarkson might be the one to go, along with, depending on what they can get for him, Gobert.
Ben Simmons.
If you do that again, I'm closing my laptop, seriously.
Okay.
Yeah, you might be the boss, but I'll quit in the spot. But seriously.
How much money has Jalen Brunson earned?
Oh, mate, he's added a 0. This series. Just on this series, he's added a 0. Yeah, look, I think he may have. Honestly, I thought he was probably going to be one of those $10 to $12 million players before this series. No, he's well past that. I think he's in that sort of like 17, 18 range now.
I think it might be higher.
If he has another series against Phoenix like this, we're talking 20 million.
I think we might be talking 23, 24.
Could be. I mean, as Zach Lowe likes to say, it only takes one arsehole.
Yeah.
But I honestly think he's into that 17, 18 range value-wise, based on what we've seen in this series. And again, another good series only adds more money to his contract.
I almost think, like, if you're Dallas, you have no choice but to really try to keep him. Unless they're working. Yeah.
It's genuinely working. I mean, Dinwiddie was supposed to just be the salary ballast because it looked like he was done, but clearly it was just a bad fit in Washington. He's looked really good. Bertans, he's just his shot has just disappeared. But that 3-guard setup is genuinely working. And of course, Luka can guard small forwards. He's 6'8" and built like a house.
If they just find an upgrade over Bertans, you're looking at a pretty good team.
Yeah. Yeah. You throw in a genuine, you throw in San Antonio Bertans on that bench, and that is a really good side. A genuine 6'10" sniper. That is a really good side.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do what you can to sign Brunson. He has straight out said no hometown discount, and I get it. He's a second rounder made good. He hasn't made money in his career, genuine money. So I agree. I think Dallas has to do whatever. They have to move heaven and earth to keep little Ricky's boy. So he's proven himself a hell of a basketballer.
Let's get to the next series. I know you don't want to harp on this one any longer.
Well, just to go back on that one, we both picked Utah in 6 on that one. So we both swung on this.
I think I was more so worried about the Doncic factor.
Oh no, we were. We both said it that before Doncic got injured, we were thinking Dallas, but Utah had a major opportunity to win that series and just blew it. They didn't take advantage of the early games. But yes, let's keep moving.
I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this one. Denver and Golden State.
Oh man,
that was an ass kicking.
Poor Nikola. He had no help. He's only one man. He's a brilliant player, but he's only one man. He couldn't do it all.
I mean, we kind of thought it kind of happened the way we thought it.
Well, it went Golden State in 5. I actually picked Golden State in 7, but not because of any sort of Denver talent. The ability of Denver, I just thought their home court was a good enough advantage that they'll be able to.
That one I thought was a little.
Yeah, it was a bit of a flyer, but I just thought Denver are really, really good at home. But look, I probably underestimated the Warriors as much as anything because they look superb.
Yeah, and I just don't think Denver had help.
Oh no, they didn't. It was Nikola against the world.
Yeah,
Aaron Gordon was terrible in this series, woeful. And of course, if you're missing your second and third best players, you're always going to struggle in a playoff setting, especially when you are the lowest seed.
I think they found something in Bones Highland. He could be a nice role player for them.
The thing I like about Bones is he's fearless. he's actually got a, we spoke about Jordan Clarkson. He's got a bit of Jordan Clarkson to it. He's got that, I can take and make any shot I wish at any point. And it's a little bit of trick or treat. He might go for 28 points off 60% shooting. He might score 6 points shooting 23%. But you almost have to let him cook a little bit because he can win you a game.
He'll get better.
Oh, he will. Yeah, Bones is better as a rookie than what Clarkson was.
He might be better than Will Barton right now. I think he is.
All right, let's patch Garrett in and see what he did. Oh man, watching his Twitter timeline, Will Barton could almost sue him for defamation. He was that vicious on him. Yeah, no, look, he just had no help. We called it at the start of the series. It was Golden State series to lose because they have a team and the Nuggets have one guy.
This next series, the last one that we got to talk about, actually, I think we could have made an argument that if we just, played the series again, that Minnesota might find a way to win the series if it just started over.
We could also say that if we played it again, Memphis might win every game by 35 as well. Like you don't know. Like it was.
That was something.
It was such a fun series, but at the same time, there were points in this series where the basketball was just unwatchable. Like it was almost like two prize fighters. Like
there was one night,
1920s bare knuckle prize fighters just swinging drunkenly, and
NFL
when
draft
the punches hit, they were great. But there was so many air swings. Man, it was a fun series, but it was Minnesota dragged Memphis down to their level a bit, I think.
Yeah, there was one night the NFL draft was on real late. It ended, and then there was like 10 minutes left in the last Timberwolves and Grizzlies game. I'm sitting there watching, like, I guess Russell got benched, and I see Towns and Morant just trading 40-foot threes just for like no reason at all.
It was mental. It was absolutely mental. Like the great moments in this series were brilliant. But I loved Patrick Beverley giving the too small thing to Morant, and it's like 90 seconds into the game. It's like, no, don't. Just like, it's always spoken about that you never pissed off Jordan, you never pissed off Kobe, you never pissed off Larry Bird. Jar is at that point now where if you trash talk him, he doesn't get involved in the trash talking. He finds another kid.
Well, his dad already does that plenty for him.
Oh, that was the best part of the series, to be honest. the Jar and the old men going at it. And who was it that was interviewing him? Was it Chris Haynes?
No, I don't think it was.
Who it was, but whoever it was, like that little sideline interview, the one that started that whole phenomenon, that was just glorious television. Like that was superb.
I can't get enough of his dad clips. Like he played like trash.
Oh yeah. No, that was fantastic. Now I'm actually kind of upset that series that didn't go to 15 games just to see the dads, but also what crazy shit would happen on the court, because it was just it was an unpredictable series it was a predictable series in that Memphis won in 6. We both picked Memphis in 6. But it was unpredictable in the way it happened. The minutiae of the series was just outlandish.
I really do think if you restart the series that there is a simulation out there where the Timberwolves find a way to win the series.
Oh, there absolutely is. But like I said, there's equally simulations where Minnesota don't turn up to any of the games. And there could be simulations where Minnesota literally don't turn up to any of the games.
Yeah.
Like, Memphis just on the court going, where's the other team? Like that's how crazy that Minnesota team is.
Do you think any of this for Towns, like any sort of learning experience for Towns here?
Can he please just shut the fuck up when he doesn't get a call?
I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
D'Lo, like D'Angelo Russell is overpaid, and that's not his fault. He signed the contract.
Is he a trade guy this offseason or no?
No. I think he is the emotional equilibrium for Towns. The two of them are best mates, but he's also ice cool. Whereas Towns is so emotional.
I get the Towns factor, but I mean, benching him in a playoff game. I mean, does that send the right message?
Well, look, we don't know what he was, we don't know where his headspace was at because Towns is such an emotional guy. D'Angelo Russell played a bit of hero ball when he shouldn't, but he has a tendency to do that because he is, he's hit a lot of clutch shots already.
How about the Towns part where he just loves picking up fouls? Like he loves.
Oh my God.
He loves it. He can't get enough.
I'm almost like the one thing, if this series did go to 15 games, I'm sure there would have been a point where Towns and Jarrod Jackson just sat there playing slapsies in the middle of the court.
Jarrod Jackson loves doing that too.
Oh, both notoriously bad. Was it? I think it was Brandon Clark was on the bench saying, "Just keep your hands up, dude." Like literally talking to him in a timeout, just like literally showing him how to stay vertical. A defensive player of the year candidate getting, coached by his backup. Yeah. The two of them, like there's every chance that they could go into like a Wendy's and go order an ice cream or something, and they'll just start hacking at the poor girl behind the counter.
Wow.
But they can't help themselves. So, both of them need to learn to pull back on the fouls, but Jackson just seems to have a better head in his shoulders than Towns. Towns is just so up and down you don't know what you are going to get, not even from game to game, but from quarter to quarter. You could get
series
the
for McDaniels,
who picks and pops, who runs to the hoop hard, who plays hard on D. You could also get the Towns that, throws his arms up, doesn't get back on defense, drives headlong into three defenders because he's frustrated. You just don't know.
Yeah. Good series for McDaniels. I think Timberwolves fans should maybe be happy. Like, hey, Edwards might be a guy. We might have one of those guys on our team.
Oh, look, the fact that McDaniels has emerged the way he does means that Edwards can slip back into his natural two. And suddenly you've got a fairly valuable trade chip in Malik Beasley.
Yep.
So I'm huge on McDaniels. I've been on him since.
I just thought those two players in particular were really important. Like, okay, we got something here.
And he is the sort of player, like McDaniels is a versatile defender as well. He's still, like we were saying in the last spot, he's still got his skills are still going to catch up. His jump shot looks great in the series, but I don't buy it as a regular thing yet. So I think it's got a ways to go. But defensively, he's already really good, and his versatility opens up so much. Edwards has got the capability of being a very good defender. Towns can play good defense at times. Russell can play good defense at times, but there are matchups where he's just too slow. So McDaniels, his versatility, his ability to guard power forwards and even the odd center all the way down the spectrum to point guards is just huge for that. He gives them all sorts of versatility.
All right, let's try to do the remaining predictions here before the time runs out. We did the Boston, Milwaukee one. Miami, Philadelphia.
Oh man, I think Miami might run, especially with Embiid out. I think they might run the floor here. There's just too much good defense for Harden. Even when Embiid comes back, you've got Bam and you've got Dwayne Dedman, who is sneakily a really good defender of Embiid, who has always been a good defender of Embiid. I just think there's too much defense for an Embiid-less Philly to handle. Embiid might come back and steal a game for them, but I think we could be looking at a sweep here.
Can I make a counterpoint?
Go for it.
I might sound crazy here, but I'm actually leaning Philadelphia in 7.
Wow. Okay.
Explain. I think there's more give and take in this series than maybe on paper seems to believe. Like this could be a Harden series the first couple of games we come out, and Tyler Hero's guarding him, and Duncan Robinson is guarding him, and Max Strus is guarding him.
He will look for all those switches. I can guarantee it. But in the last series we spoke about the biggest coaching mismatch being Doc versus Nurse.
Sure.
We've got a bigger coaching mismatch now in Doc versus Spoelstra. And that's not Doc's fault. Spoelstra's the best coach in the league. So that's not necessarily a slight on Doc. It's just that everyone is at a disadvantage to Eric Spoelstra.
I just think there's a chance that we could see a little vintage Harden. It doesn't have to be the whole series, just 2 games of vintage Harden. And Embiid comes back game 3, maybe. We got a little series on our hands.
Well, I mean, Maxi's going to have to turn.
Maxi has to play well.
They're going to have to, uncork the Furkan and see what he can do.
They will have Thibault for the road games.
Green. Everything has to go. Yeah, Toby Harris has to be the best version of Toby Harris.
Harris has to play well.
Everything needs to go right for this team.
Yes.
And, the reason
I don't think it's impossible.
Number 1 seed. No, I don't think it is either. But the reason Miami are a number 1 seed is because they make, they don't allow everything to go right for you. They take stuff away from you. And without Embiid there, there's just not enough. I honestly...
It depends when he returns. If he comes back game 3, I think they can do it.
Yeah, and that's where I think there could be that emotional return where he comes back and he's just a physical.
Because the first 2 games are on the road anyway. If they just get 1, you're in good shape.
But I think the adjustments will come, whether it's a win or a loss. Let's say he comes back game 3 and win or lose. I think the adjustments will come game 4. And I think at best, Philly win 1 game series.
Okay.
But I'm going for a sweep.
Phoenix, Dallas. This one's something.
Oh, yeah. This is a really interesting series. It's tough to say until we know what's happening with Booker, but I'm going to say Phoenix in 6. I know that I did say
that's what I was going to say.
We sort of ran through in our last pod a projected entire playoffs, and I thought Dallas would get knocked off in 5, or whether it was Utah or Dallas, whoever it was, will get knocked off in 5. But I just think without Booker there and with Doncic having his sea legs again, I think there is enough there that I think there's enough there for Dallas to steal a couple of games.
Okay.
I don't think there's enough there to win the series, but I think this is going to be Phoenix in 6. Bridges will go to Doncic without a doubt, but then you've still got Dinwiddie and Brunson.
I just want some Jay Crowder highlights. Some big plays from Jay Crowder.
Oh man, your bromance with Jay Crowder. I mean, it's an unrequited one. It's very much one way. But yeah, he doesn't even know I'm alive. You. My God, I'm still astounded at how much you love that man.
Hey, he's 3rd in the NBA in net rating. He's a good player.
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I did not realize it. If you said to me, hey, guess who's surprisingly 3rd in the league in net rating, I might have gone 100 picks before I got to Crowder.
Yeah. Winning basketball player, Jay Crowder.
Oh, he is, definitely. There's a reason he constantly makes finals.
This last one, hopefully we can do it before the Zoom runs out again. Memphis, Golden State. We already saw 1 game of this series.
What a game, too.
Was a good game.
That was a ripping game.
Here's the real question. Is Golden State going to be able to get offensive boards like this the whole year or the whole series? Because that's a problem for Memphis. They got to win that rebounding matchup.
Yeah. And I mean, it depends on how much Adams plays. It depends on the foul trouble that Jackson's in. Because Tillman and Clark and all that, they're good.
Yeah,
they can get knocked around by those bigger Golden State bodies. If you asked me yesterday, like before this series had started, I probably would have said Golden State 5, but 5 really tight games. Now that they've stolen one, now that they've got that first win, I'm going to say Golden State still, but I think this will go all the way. I think this will be a 7 game. This will be a classic.
Okay. I think. I was going to go 6. I was going to give Memphis 2 games.
Yeah, no, I honestly think this one could go the distance. This could be one of those one of those all time.
Desmond Bain kind of looks like a warrior.
He he actually plays like a Spur. He plays like a prime Spur.
He went to TCU.
He just does. He does all of the basic stuff well. He's not.
I think he's their second best player.
On a night-to-night basis, yes. If you put it as an average, yes. There are other people who've got better peaks than him.
That's fine.
But they've also got bigger troughs, and Bain's just that constant.
He makes a lot of shots.
Yeah, he does. And he doesn't make mistakes. That's
Yeah.
where the Spursiness comes in. You know what you are going to get from Desmond Bain. It's going to be good, and he'll occasionally explode, but you know he's not going to have,
He's got some good pipes on him too. Got some good pipes on him.
Oh no, he's built. He's
Yeah.
built. So yeah, I'll say that one in 7.
All right. Anything else to add?
I don't think we've got the time.
Yeah.
Before Nick Claxton makes another free throw and we get kicked out of Zoom.
Yeah, that's probably gonna happen.
So there you go. He's making one free throw every half hour at this rate.
Yeah.
Sounds
All
about right.
That's Jarrod Prosser. Make sure to follow him. Hey_it's JP. I'll do it one more time. Hey_it's JP. Follow myself, Trey Dalbert. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.